Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us here today. We're delighted to welcome you to the Floodlight Investigative Journalism Game Jam Award Ceremony for the 2026 Floodlight Game Jam. I'm Carla Reyes, and I'm an indie game developer and the founder of Anima Interactive, which is a socially conscious indie game studio and one of the co-organizers of the Floodlight Game Jam initiative. I'll pass it over to Paul to introduce himself and to share some more background and context about the Floodlight Games initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla, and thank you all for coming. I know it's late in the day, you've played a lot of games, you're probably a little bit tired, but I think this will be quite exciting. I'm Paul Radu, I'm the co-founder of the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, as well as of Floodlight Gaming. So I'll just talk a little bit about what Floodlight Gaming is and what the intention of this bridge that we created between investigative reporting and the game development community is. So we started the Floodlight project as a space between the investigative reporting industry and the film industry initially. So together with the Gabo Foundation from Cartagena, this is the Gabriel Garcia Marquez Foundation, that was created by the writer who was first an investigative reporter, and then he became one of the best fiction writers of the world. And we were thinking, how can we expand investigative reporting? How can we share this so necessary skill to be able to investigate, to be able to protect yourself by investigating, by trying to go against these huge waves of corruption and of criminality that are unfortunately affecting all of our lives. So we started with this cooperation with the film industry. Floodlight Film is in its fourth year already. We are working with really good film producers, the people who did Mission Impossible, the last two of them, and Erin Brockovich, and She Said, and Band of Brothers, and many other films. And that's where, again, we're trying to get from these published and unpublished investigative stories to creators who can make the best out of them. So it was just natural to also start this cooperation with the game development industry, with the video gaming industry. And this is where Carla came in with her company, Anima Interactive. This is where our friend Nacho over there came in with his company from Barcelona, Good Game Generation. These are people from inside your industry. These are people who are very knowledgeable, but these are people who are very much aligned with the ethos, with the idea of Floodlight Gaming, which is to create fiction in the public interest. Gaming in the public interest. We believe in games with a purpose, but we believe in entertaining games with a purpose. So let's see a little bit, and we also hope that by developing these video games together with you, we'll be able to create new revenue streams for the investigative reporting industry. Investigative reporting is in dire need for funding. It's costly. It pays off. I mean, our organization, contributed to the recovery of about $11 billion from various bad parties. So the return on investment is between 20 to 30,000%, which we joke at my network that this is more lucrative than cocaine trafficking. So let's do it together. So let's check a little bit how this works.
Yeah, so just a little bit about the process in case any of you are interested in participating in a future game jam. But essentially, there's actually an application process that the investigative journalists go through first. So they submit proposals about the extensive investigative reporting that they've done to the Floodlight team, and then there's a jury that curates and selects those proposals and distills them into a stories catalog. So as an example, this year, there were 70 proposals that were submitted from the investigative journalists, and then only 12 were selected to be curated into the Floodlight Games stories catalog, which is then distributed to the jam participants. And beyond just having access to that primary source material, the developers are then also connected with the investigative journalists so that they have the opportunity to directly interface with them, to ask them questions about the stories, and do a little bit of journalistic work themselves in that sense to make sure that they can really get close to the material and the stories that inspire their jam projects. And then they spend, a month or so jamming and developing, and this is where there's a lot of co-creation, and we have a Discord community that's active, so all of the developers that participate can exchange ideas, and they can also get support from some of the mentors in the community as well. And so it's been a great way to just foster connections among people that are interested, right, and values aligned in terms of the types of games that they want to develop. And then a jury of experts from across the games industry and the journalism industries review the jam prototypes, and then they select the finalists and some winners, and some of those projects are then chosen to be further developed, and that's what Paul was mentioning, right? I think one of the great things that differentiates this jam from some others is that the organizers behind the jam are really serious about supporting and empowering the developers to further produce their projects and bring them to life, and getting the investment resources, which we all know is really a struggle these days in indie game development especially. So being able to have direct resources, mentorship, support, for example, so the winners not only get a cash prize and the opportunity to showcase at festivals like this, but they also get opportunities to participate in accelerators like the Spielfabrik Accelerator, which a couple of our jam participants from last year have participated in. And you might have already seen, and if you haven't, we have the booth that is showing the prototypes from last year's winners, which include Dark Money and Hunting the Hunter, which we'll talk about and you'll get to see a little bit more about. But that's a little bit more about the process.
So let's see the prototypes from last year.
Great, yes. So as I mentioned, we have Dark Money and Hunting the Hunter. I don't want to spoil too much about these because, as I said, they are available for you to go play just outside this room. But we also have the developers present here. So we have Eric McBay from Polyvale Studios, who are the creators of Dark Money, and Chris Vogel from Green Wave Games, who are the creators of Hunting the Hunter. And just broadly speaking, and I guess, Paul, you can go to the next slide. Dark Money is an adaptation of investigative reporting about global money laundering, and it's an incremental game. So you start as a reluctant accountant that is then sort of convinced into becoming a money launderer, right? And you can sort of grapple with the moral ambiguity in those choices and see the impact of what that does. And it really conveys a lot of the systems around corruption, right, and organized crime, and that's one of the main goals of the Floodlight Initiative. So I guess we can play the video. Awesome, thank you. And yes, it's actually up on Steam now, so please do give it a wish list. And then we have Hunting the Hunter, which tackles and conveys the story of cocoa smuggling in Ghana. And what's really interesting about this project is, and we were discussing this at the roundtable for those that were not there this morning, but it's wrapped in a sort of cozy environment, and the exploration is nice. And something that is positive about that is that it's conveying this really dark topic, but it's within a world and aesthetic that is actually very palatable and nice to play. So I would also encourage you all to play that, but we can check out the video.
Hey, I'm Bernard. I handle tech and game design in Green Wave Games. The first chapter of our game is based on the report Hunting the Hunter by Anas Aramia Anas. His story immediately captivated me. He felt like a real-life superhero, risking his life to expose corruption. I wanted our game to capture even a bit of that tension and emotion.
Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm responsible for production, art direction, and writing. I'm really happy that we are working with the OCCRP and Floodlight project, because that's how we can base our game on real-world investigations. And that is really amazing because it allows for so much tension and emotion that just naturally arises from the source material. And also we will have a lot of gray area characters, which is just really amazing. In our game there will be 5 to 6 chapters, and each will be based on another investigation. But the focus will be the cocoa supply chain. So yeah, both the legal and the illegal parts of it.
In the game, you play as an investigative journalist uncovering a smuggling ring. You talk to locals, gather clues, and slowly piece together how the operation works. But if you say the wrong thing to the wrong person, you die.
In order to win, you have to complete mini-games, and like this one, where you have to put like a mark on the picture, and once you find the right place on the picture, the gap text will be filled.
When you complete an investigation minigame, a new piece of the cardboard falls into place. Just like in real journalism, nothing stands on its own. Every claim has to be proven.
In our game you can also take pictures of the suspects in the world, which will then, like the minigames, show up in the corkboard. And once you have filled out all the notebooks correctly, you can break the story and win the game or progress in the game.
As we turn this prototype into a full vertical slice, we'll playtest a lot and keep refining the mechanics to make everything feel clear and smooth.
We will also improve on the story and dialogue using narrative techniques and working with 2D and 3D artists and a shader and lighting specialist to improve the art. Also, we will be working with an audio engineer and with musicians to bring the music into the game.
Balancing is another key focus. In deduction games, clues need to be clear, but not too easy to solve. Getting that balance right is what makes solving the case satisfying.
By working closely with Floodlight, we can always go back to journalists and ask them questions about their perspective or emotions in a specific situation. This way, our game will be deeper than it would be otherwise.
Amazing.
So it goes almost without saying, right, that there's a lot of work behind these investigations that powered the games. In the case of Dark Money, we did an investigative series with many media outlets. We worked with Dutch journalists, with Danish journalists, with US journalists, with Colombian journalists, with journalists from all over the place to uncover these very complex money laundering systems. And in the case of Hunting the Hunter, our colleague from Ghana, Anes Aremiao, he went undercover to investigate the cocoa smuggling in the western part of Ghana, which constitutes the inspiration for this particular game. So it's always, there's a lot of like sweat on the side of the investigative reporters to bring these stories to life. And this is what we're sharing as part of Floodlight Gaming, is that experience. We're sharing a lot beyond what's published. That's truly important because we establish these secure pipelines of communications where the journalists can give you the data, the information, the folders, the photos, the audio that they have, and a lot of insights that we can't use in our investigative reporting. So this is some of the outcome from the first Floodlight Game Jam from last year. These games are under development right now. This year, we have Floodlight Gaming 2, which Indigo was very nice to us to host. And this time we try to focus on in-browser games meant to be used on the websites of the centers for investigative reporting that are putting all the sweat and all this work, to power such games, with the idea that this may bring new audiences to those websites and may help form the next generation of investigative reporters. So let's watch the finalists.
My name is Adobe Trisha Mubani. I'm a Nigerian freelance journalist based in Abuja, Nigeria. I submitted my story, my investigation to Floodlight Gaming, especially because I think it's a really important story that more people need to hear. And I think this is a great opportunity to expand the reach, a really creative way to expand the reach of my story, to get more people interested in talking about it. I also think it's a really fascinating story. People who read it were really fascinated. And I think it will make for great, entertainment in the sense that people are learning and being creative at the same time, learning about the story, thinking about it, discussing it. I just think it's something important that more people need to know about. And I think this is a creative way of expanding the reach and impact of that story. Thank you.
Your brother has mysteriously gone missing, and it's up to you to find him.
You have to find clues and question everyone to piece together what happened. But the system that took your brother is also the only one with answers.
The game is based on reporting by Adobe Trisha Nuvani and set in 2020's Nigeria, during a time when the police were targeting young men and making them disappear. Speaking directly with Adobe helped us gain a deeper understanding of the story and the family's experiences, so we could portray them faithfully in the game.
This story was a natural fit for the type of game we wanted to make, a point-and-click investigation. By playing as the family member and the journalist, you experience both the personal bravery of the family and the determination of a journalist uncovering the truth.
Hey guys, I'm Rafael Olavarria with Fact Chequeado. I'm Venezuelan, but I've been living in the US since 2014. I am based in Washington, D.C. I submitted this investigation because, okay, hear me out. Did you guys ever play Metal Gear Solid? I'm sure you did. It was my favorite game growing up, with Soviet spies, complex narratives, powerful villains. My story, which shows how Russia is trying to covertly interfere in Mexico, feels kind of similar. You've got the Russian embassy involved, Spanish journalists spreading disinformation, and a long-standing Mexican institution called Club de Periodistas being used for pro-Russia events, including so-called trainings for Mexican journalists. And look, we know the Club de Periodistas is not the first, nor will be the last case. Historically, the extinct Soviet Union tried to meddle in Mexican politics, and another operation was discovered as recently as 2024. But this could be an opportunity to play spies while also helping people understand that these kind of operations are happening as we speak. Thank you so much, and see you soon.
Hi, I am Paul Gralamanga, and I was programmer on Influence.
Hi, I'm Julie Roche. I'm an IT designer of Influence.
Hi, I'm Pierre. I'm the graphic designer of Influence.
Influence is inspired by Putin's Periodistas, a report by Rafael Olavarria and Fact Chequeado. We created this project to amplify their voice and highlight a reality that extends far beyond Mexico. Elsewhere also, political and economic pressures continue to shape and constrain journalism. Through Influence, players confront how journalists are pressured, how control operates, and how the choice of a single word can shift an information to propaganda. We thank Floodlight Gaming for this game jam, which pushed us to grow as a team and open our mind on international issues. We also are deeply grateful to Rafael Olavarria and Fact Chequeado for their rigorous work. We'd also like to have a special thought for all journalists oppressed doing their job.
Hi, my name is Elisa Triantafylou. I'm an Athens-based investigative journalist for Inside Story, a subscription-based digital outlet recognized for investigative rigor. Our game proposal is a story on how a predator became a prey. The story is based on a multi-year complex investigative report on illegal spyware surveillance of Greek journalists, ministers, opposition politicians, judges, widely regarded as one of the greatest scandals in recent Greek history. The story we have in mind resembles a video game. It features a rich cast of heroes and villains, similar to a role-playing game, and a plot structured like a puzzle, where uncovering the truth means finding hidden pieces scattered across the most unlikely places and assembling them into a coherent narrative, one that reads like a spy thriller.
I really wanted to kind of get across the idea of, like, journalists aren't just observers, they're political, and they become targets, and what they do has to be protected as well.
We aren't just a pair of random targets. Nikos is in the opposition party.
This story caught my eye because computer security has been on my mind. Just feeling like the anxiety of all of your devices feel like they're watching you.
I was an investigative political journalist for 12 years. In many ways, this game is a love letter to old school journalism films.
I was thoroughly impressed by Inside Story's reporting. It was so detailed. A lot of the documents that they used in the reporting were there in the articles. Jams like these are fantastic, especially something like the Floodlight Game Jam, where you're taking breaking news and you're turning it into a game within months.
Incredible. So I think that hopefully gives you a sense of just the sheer diversity of experiences that have come out of these game jams as well, right? Every experience has a unique narrative, unique mechanics and aesthetics, and those finalists projects, as well as the other projects that came out of this year's jam, you can play, and last year's jam, you can play on itch.io. If you just search the Floodlight Investigative Journalism Game Jam on itch, all of those prototypes are available to play. And so now I think we're ready to announce the winner of this year's jam. Maybe is there a drum roll? I don't know. But the winner of this year's jam is actually from the project that you most recently saw. It is Predator Gate. So huge congratulations to, yes. Huge congratulations to Izzy Fiacco and Z. Daniel Barnett, who were the developers behind this project. They're currently in the States, so they weren't able to join us here today. However, they have recorded a little acceptance speech, which we can watch, so I think we can play.
Hey, Indigo 2026. I'm Izzy Fiacco.
I'm Daniel Barnett.
And we're the team that brought you Predator Gate.
Yes, and what an honor to have won this award and to be, have taken part in this awesome game jam. Thanks to Floodlight, for putting it on.
Yeah, definitely thank you to Floodlight, and thank you to Anima Interactive for hosting these kind of community jams.
We also want to give our thanks to Elisa Triantafylou, the reporter from Inside Story, who brought light to the Predator Gate scandal and all of her incredible reporting.
And we want to shout out our fellow finalists, Influence, and he was here yesterday. Amazing games, they were super cool to play, and just congratulations to everyone who participated. Making games is super hard.
Yeah, well, and drawing attention to all the real world issues, all these games dealing with real life reporting. Very cool to be throwing efforts behind all this and taking part in this with all of you.
Yeah, game jams are just such a cool way to bring everyone together, whether they're a first timer or a veteran, to make something really cool, really quick. So thank you so much for the opportunity and for the award.
Yes.
Yay.
Awesome. So yes, Izzy and Z. Daniel will be recipients of the prize, which will include exploration for further development, the $5,000, and opportunities to be placed in the Spielfabrik Launchpad program. And I would really recommend that you do check out the games. what Izzy said there about making games is hard, which I think many of us know as developers in the room, and game jams especially because of the constraints that are there. So it's really powerful to see what has come out of these experiences because they were only developed within a few weeks' time, right? But it takes years of work from the investigative journalists as well. So it's just a really fascinating product that comes out of it. So yeah, just thank you to all the participants and everybody involved, and over to Paul.
Yeah, and I just said, for us, for investigative reporters, to see the speed at which game developers work is astonishing because it takes us sometimes a month to build an infographics, and these people came with prototypes like in 3 weeks. That's amazing to me, So this is an amazingly creative industry. So I also want to to shout out to our supporters. Obviously, Indigo for the space, for this amazing opportunity to meet you. Thank you. Our supporters: V-Venture, the Ceros Foundation, Global Game Jam, Spielfabrik, International Game Development Association, the Pulitzer Centers, SEEK, Zem Magazine, and many, many other colleagues, who participated in Floodlight Gaming, who helped us get here. And, we have our booth out there. Please join us tomorrow. And we have a catalog of stories to offer to you. We have a catalog with new stories that you can have access to develop into new games. So again, thank you very, very much for you being here, and thank you for the vibe here at Indigo. This is just amazing for us. So thank you very much, and have a great day as we go on.